Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on PharcydeTV. My co-host Jeremy Scipio, he couldn't make it today. A fellow comedian passed away over the weekend, and he went to be part of showing his support to that. And we're gonna give a special shout out to Michael K. Williams. I named a dog after his character Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire. Man, he was a very serious loss. Man, he was a talented guy. I followed him from The Wire to Boardwalk Empire to Lovecraft. You know what I'm saying? Which I felt Lovecraft was a very we haven't seen a Black story told with that type of power. I'll say, you know what? I'll say leading up to that, we got a taste of it with The Watchmen. Did you watch that?
The Watchmen. I think I've seen The Watchmen.
Yeah, it was
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Regina King. Yeah, it had Regina King on it, but it was a really good storyline, some sci-fi. But it was just like a very powerful little series. So anyway, with that being said, we gave our rest in pieces, man. We about to turn up for Homeboy Fool and Michael K. Williams. I am very pleased to have DJ Curse of the Beat Junkies. You know what I'm saying? So basically, this show is a combination of comedy and hip hop. Always started. It's great that you're a DJ because we'll just have a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
But I always start off with a question that gauges like where a person is musically. And it's definitely gonna date you. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard like
I'm the worst.
Hey, I'll tell you this. Our guest, shout out to Crystal Powell last week. She said, man, I want to say it was a Luke Skywalker song or something, man. Made me feel old as dust. I was like, she was like, yeah, that was the first time I heard hip hop. I'm like, oh man, that's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, woo. So where were you the first time that you heard hip hop?
Man, the first time I heard hip hop, that's gonna be funny. I have an older brother, and the first time I heard hip hop was when my brother came home rapping Rapper's Delight. And,
okay.
Back in the day, when Rapper's Delight first came out, first of all, that was the first hip hop rap record that was widely available on radio. There might have been others before, but out here,
no, it was a pop tune.
Yeah.
It was a song that the radio stations felt was edgy enough, but it was like the new thing. So even though there was hip hop before.
Right.
The Sugar Hill Gang, they were that first group that kind of got the commercial push.
Right. And that being said, so back in the day, it was so new that, kids like my brother, who was he's like 4 years older than I am, but they used to have rapping contests. They used to see who could remember the lyrics, and everybody was tripping over the cooking part, your mom is it tastes like wood, Yeah. So you hop and so the same with me, so that's where I first heard hip hop was through Rapper's Delight, through my brother and his friends and stuff like that. So they would always have rapping contests. It would be at school, even us as kids. I remember rapping the lyrics to Rapper's Delight and some school thing I had to do. So that was the first time I really first heard hip hop, so that was probably the first time. So I go way back.
What was the first piece of wax you ever purchased?
Man, the very first
with your money, not one that you got from a relative, not one that you.
So the first piece of wax, man, that I can remember off bat was this is when I was a kid, and I had to bug I had to bug my mom to take me to the mall. Because at the time, the record stores at the time were Music Plus,
Yep,
Warehouse,
yeah,
And then, you know, there might have been like, there were some mom and pop places, but as a kid, I didn't really know about them because I was still a kid. The internet wasn't a thing. You weren't there to pick up a phone book and look it through. You know, there was a couple places like in Carson I used to go to, but that was a little later. But the first record that I can remember buying with my own money, and I went to Music Plus and I bought The System. But the group was The System, called Passion. It's Passion. It's called, I heard it on K-Day. I used to listen to K-Day when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So basically they played this song called Passion. It's time of passion. You know what I'm asking in times of passion. Yeah. So I went there. I was like, bye. She drove me begrudgingly down to the Lakewood Mall, and where the Music Plus was.
But real quick though,
yeah,
that was kind of like some funk. That was kind of like, you know, okay, we okay, yeah. So
that is probably the first record I can like when people ask me, like, you know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm sure I had records before that, you know, because I think before that I was more into tapes, you know, like I remember rushing to the mall. Again, my parents daycare was dropping me off at the mall and just leaving me there for hours. So, you know, like, and this is the days of like when they had like Sega Centers and Magic Castle, like the video game places where, you know, if you had $10, each game was a quarter, you could spend
huge
hours.
arcades.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, I used to go to the same like record stores and stuff and buy cassette tapes. Like, you know, I remember like one of the last cassette tapes I bought was like Genius of Love, like Tom Tom Club, you know. And so, you know, like I was in the cassettes, then went through a little phase of some 45s, but the first real record that I can say like I was like that I can remember buying with my own money was Passion System, but and at Music Plus in the Liquid Mall.
Oh wow. How'd you get the name DJ Curse?
Well, this is what's crazy. I've gone through several names, like, you know, like when we were like, I was a mobile DJ first before I became like just a solo DJ Curse and stuff like that. So we went through multiple like DJ name, like, you know, but the most popular mobile DJ group name was Public Image. But how I became Curse, I was DJ Slice. I was DJ Slice for a long time, like years as a kid. I was DJ Slice. And then another DJ Slice came out with the Electric Slide. And so when they came out with the record, I was just like, well, looks like I can't be using the Slice name anymore. So I just decided I probably could have still used it because, I mean, people knew me by it, but I was just like, you know, this fool's got a record out, Electric Slide, it says DJ Slice right on the record. So I ended up changing it. So what happened was I used to work with a rapper, another local friend of mine named Shane. And he was the Madman, Madman. He was the Madman. And so he needed a DJ. So he was Madman and I was DJ Curse. And so Curse was because like when I used to scratch and all that stuff back in the day, they would say, man, it looks like your hands, look like the heat's coming off laser. Like they said, like your hands look like they're throwing a curse. They look like they're throwing a curse. So he called me, that's how he came up with the name Curse. And so, you know, the easy answer when people ask me, why do I curse a lot. You know, I do curse a lot, that being said, but my man, Shane, MC Madman, he's the one who coined the term for me, Curse, and used to be the Crossfade Beast and all this other stuff like that back in the day. And that was because in the early days of rap, everybody had their own persona. You know, you had Run DMC, you had LL Cool J, you had BDP, you had MC Shan, you had like Slick Rick. Everybody kind of had their own little persona going on, and we're like, well, we just kind of we'll just maintain in the dark side, in the realm of the dark. So so he was MC Madman and I became DJ Curse. So that's basically what it was. So
you want me to tell you something dope?
Yeah.
So I see you, you know, you kicking it. I can tell you do a lot of twitching. You got your green screen in the background and you leaned in a couple times. And it's kind of like as you lean in and you touch your turntables and your mixer, it's almost, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble with your wife, but it's almost like you're grabbing your girlfriend's hand and you holding her hand, man. I see you, I see you showing a lot of cool attention. Yeah, I see you showing a lot of attention to your turntables, and that's dope though. It's like man, he's right there. He's got his tables in front of him, and they're not just props, just some stuff that's up there. And like it's a trip because I went on YouTube and I looked up some of your stuff, and I saw you like really doing your thing, turntable. Oh, stop it, turntablisms and all that. And I'm like, dang, he's really comfortable with his tools and his craft, man. He's kicking it right there. He's touching his turntables and mixers while he's having this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, something funny. So I DJ'd for a short spell, and it was probably like in my bedroom from like 87 to like 89, 90, and then kind of coming into Hollywood with the Pharcyde as they got signed. I kind of received it was a trip. At the time that they got signed, they were just the dopest. No, I won't say that. They were so different from what else was going on that a lot of doors got opened, and they kind of, I don't know how it happened, but like Daz was working for Delicious Vinyl at the time.
Okay.
And we kind of took a liking to each other, just hell of a cool, whatever. And so then I think it was kind of on some, he's the Pharcyde's homeboy, the Pharcyde's this new group. So dude, I got like thrust in the clubs. Like, dude, I never paid dues. Like, dude, like man, it like no dues paid. Definitely didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Didn't screw up too much. One particular time I screwed up. The Black Eyed Peas had this club called, oh man, Ballistics. I think it was Ballistics or whatever, and it was at the Whiskey Go Go.
Okay.
And Busta Rhymes had showed up. So it's not the Busta Rhymes that we know right now. This is Busta Rhymes back in like 93, maybe like 93. So he's still like from New York,
right?
Incredible MC, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't this mega thing that he is now. So their old manager was a DJ. And so he said, don't let anybody touch this mixer. And I'm gonna go and, you know, I'll let you do your thing, but don't you let anybody touch this mixer. So he walks away. So Busta comes in, and you know, Black Eyed Peas got their little club, Ballistic. They probably had a Bud Bundy up there, whatever. Just it was really cool. In the Black Eyed Peas, even though the Pharcyde had come out, the Black Eyed Peas kind of had this commercial, like the Interscope commercial thing behind them, where like even though they were after the Pharcyde, they were just like taking off very fast. Like their you know, their trajectory was like where the Pharcyde was kind of like this, the Black Eyed Peas almost was like, you know, like spaceship. So anyway, so I'm playing some instrumentals, and Busta comes over, and he starts rapping. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then he reaches his hand over to the mixer to start muting himself out. And so at this time, man, I knew realistic mixers, and then I could kind of make my way around a couple other mixers. But like whatever this mixer was that they had at the club, like I didn't know it at all. Okay. And Busta was rapping, but he knew it, and he was muting himself out. So when he finishes, he mutes something, and I'm not really watching what he's muting. I'm just so kind of like, you know, thrown back. I'm DJing, and Busta is up here busting. And dude, he muted something where I couldn't play a record. And so I'm trying to play it, and it's like 40 seconds of silence in the club. And their manager screamed at me from like across, coming towards me, get off those turntables right now.
Damn.
Oh man. And so yeah, so that was a very that was me learning. You know what? I was paying the price for not paying any dues to be in the position that I was in. I mean, I think that's what a lot of it was. So with that being said, with you and DJing, when did you get started?
Man, I started DJing like in 81, 82.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah, like all that old school stuff, Planet Rock and all that stuff, that I came up with it. I came up with that stuff. That's not old school to me. That's my school. So yeah.
Hip hop was so powerful to me that I had a home. My mother's one of her coworkers.
Yeah.
My mom, she was a doctor, and she had a coworker that was a nurse, and they would kind of pick up shifts at the same hospitals on the weekend in order to like get the extra grind on. So her homegirl's son was hella spoiled. Like he had dirt bikes and he had techniques and like he just had like everything. He got eyes odds. Like he had everything that I wish that I would have been able to have.
Yeah.
And I went over to his house and he was making pause mixtapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that was a thing. That was a huge thing before all that. I mean, pause mixing with the cassette deck, you had to have a dope ass cassette deck with a good pause. Otherwise, because there were two common cassette decks back in the days. One with good pause and others that had the soft pause that would like float into the mix. So it wasn't good. You needed it to cut right to the mix. Yeah. So, dude, pause mixing was huge. It was huge back in the day, but people don't really know about it. But it was a thing back in the day.
Dude, hip hop blew my mind so hard in the whole mixing and watching him do that. We were discussing earlier. I'm from the South Bay, so we had like some dope break dancers. Like shoot, Boogaloo Shrimp was down the street around the corner. You know what I'm saying? So we had Poppin' Taco. He'd come around. Like we had the culture of hip hop around. But me going to his house in Cerritos and seeing him and his homeboys and this whole thing of rewinding and pausing and stopping to put together this kind of like electro hop thing, which electro hop was once again, like you were talking, the Planet Rocks and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Dude, the spirit possessed me so tough. I stole his tape, man. You know what I'm saying?
that was a big thing back in the day too.
But Pete, though, I get home, and I'm home for like an hour. And my mom comes in my room and she says, "Did you take that boy's tape?" And I'm just lying. Nope. She knew. She the same thing, But the funny thing about it was I reconnected with him like 2 years ago. Like he Facebook something or another. He reached out to me and I did some, one of his people had passed away. It was before COVID, but one of his people had passed away. I think it was just like a heart attack or something like that, but it was very untimely. So I helped him with some of the stuff for the celebration that he put together, the printed materials and whatnot. And he ended up, he wasn't funny on the money, but it was kind of like a chunk of money that he ended up not paying, which I think he was going to other people and getting people to chip in for this funeral, the celebration thing that they had for this guy. And I told him, I said, you know what, man, you don't even owe me them extra chips, man. I got something that's heavy on my heart, man. And I gotta tell you, I was like, if it wouldn't be for you, I probably wouldn't have worked in the hip hop field to an extent and whatever. And I was like, man, I just want you to know I did steal, that pause mixtape at your house. It's like, what pause mixtape?
Yeah.
Dude, he didn't even remember. But I was like, you know what, man, you don't owe me, man. I got you, man. Cause you know what I'm saying? You cultured me and you led me into something. So
yeah.
Yeah. So that was my little hip hop story. So what city are you from?
Well, I've been residing in the city of Cerritos for a long time. Before Cerritos, Long Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in junior high school, what music were you listening to?
Ooh, junior high was 82 and 6. So it had, man, I'd have to look at the years. That's the worst part for me is like years and looking back. But I mean, like in high school, I was all, whatever was like, whatever hip hop was out at that time. So in 80, 82, 86, 86, you're looking at what, like, I mean, big to me was always Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim. I listened to all the, like, what you guys would consider the classics. Those were all like the people, like, I mean, my favorite rapper back in the day and one of the top rappers to this day till is Rakim. Rakim is still one of my favorite rappers. I still love BDP. So I'd be listening to BDP. I'd be listening to LL Cool J. And then, man, see, like I'd have to see the groups, like, you know, I'd have to look at a list of groups. But I mean, I listen to everybody. I mean, that's.
So tell me this, because it was interesting. I stopped by clients on Saturday, and there was a security guard there, and we were talking, and he was playing K-Earth, and it was playing like all the old school early 80s like MTV songs. Right. And I'm there, you know, doing something with the client, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, man, he's jamming. He's not jamming on no hip hop, but he's jamming on, like, I remember like on TV, Select TV, MTV, when it was like first came out. I'm like, man, he's jamming. What's interesting to me, so is it just because this conversation is on hip hop, or you never really listen to a mixture of all that other stuff too? You just
no, I've always been an open format DJ. Like I've always, like from the earliest part of my, like, you know, I mean, when I was a kid, we used to go to family parties in Carson, right? Yeah. And since I'm real quick,
so basically, I know that Carson, California has one of the largest Samoan communities in California, but also, like we had our conversation earlier, Carson, California has a huge Filipino, and not saying that you were there because of the Filipino thing, or your ethnicity and whatnot, but Carson does have a very large Filipino community.
Yeah, well, no, this is kind of crazy because you know, I'm mixed race. My mom was Filipino and my dad was, you know, Syrian German. So a lot of the families we hung around back then were of mixed race. Okay. So like the family we used to go to out in Carson all the time, it was a Filipino married to a Black person, right? So and they were like our best friends. So every like July 4th, I remember going there July 4th. It was like a couple of times a year that all the families, because you're talking about, you know, these guys were in the Navy. Our parents, the family was in the Navy together. So it's kind of like a Navy. So anyway, and we'd all get there, a whole bunch of mixed races and stuff like that. But we, you know, as a kid, you don't think nothing of it. It's just a bunch of having a good time.
Family.
Yeah. And so, but Lorenzo was his name. And what Lorenzo would do is he'd always give me a stack of 45s. He'd give me a stack of 45s. He goes, here, you want to play some records? And I'd be like, yeah, because, you know, at the time, those record players, you'd put them on, you'd stack the record players, you hit the button and the tone arm picks and starts knocking down records. And
jukebox style.
Yeah, you know, and so you just, as a kid, you're like, man, look at all this, you know, so you're 33, 45 and all that. So I would literally do that for like an hour or two at a barbecue. He would just hand me records and I would just literally sit there playing records. And that was like my first, like, probably foray into like just playing records, you know what I'm saying? Like just getting into like playing records. And so, yeah, and from that, like beyond that, it was I was a kid in a pool. I was in a pool. I was swimming around as a kid, and I heard my friend, this guy by the name of Norman. He was a couple of years older than me, but I didn't. So basically, my friend Maria was playing a tape, and on the tape, he had doubled up "Genius of Love." He had doubled up he doubled it up. So it was like, and I was like, wait a second. That was my favorite song at the time. So I was like, how the hell did he do that? Like, how did he just double that up? Mm-hmm. Right. I was completely confused. Like, I was like, wait a second. How did he do that? That was cool. Like, that's so cool. And so I had to find out how he did that. And so I found out that you needed 2 turntables at the time and a mixer. And so basically I just busted my ass, did chores, did everything I could possibly do to get money to get me my first turntable, which I did. It was a Technics.
Don't drive.
No, you know what? Check this out. It was a Technics SL D20. They made 2 of the same turntables, Technics, back in the day. They made a SL B20, which stood for belt, and they made an SL D20,
direct drive.
Yeah. And I got the direct drive one. And then next thing I had to do was save up and get a Radio Shack mixer, like everybody else. And now again,
realistic.
Realistic had two mixers. They had the $69 no crossfade mixer, and then they had the $119 mixer with the VU meters.
Okay? Yeah.
And they had the crossfader with the click in the middle. There was a click in the middle crossfader, right? So that's the one I got. And then eventually I got, I think maybe for a birthday gift, I got the other turntable. So now I've got two turntables and my mixer. And so basically that's when I started buying records, collecting records. But I was always an open format DJ. I've listened to everything. I mean, there have been periods of time where I'm like, I'll be really hardcore into hip hop, but in general, I've never really limited to myself to kind of music like that I can play. You know, like right now, I play a lot of this, you know, dancey shit and stuff you might hear on the radio and stuff like that. But that's just to build an audience. You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally get it. It's like one of your peers, and I tell this story, like I've told it at least 4 times on the show. So one of your peers, I had a conversation with him, and Brown has a store called 2 for 2. Okay. It's in Eagle Rock. So it's on Eagle Rock Boulevard, 4315 or 4313. I can't remember which one, but 4313, 4315, Eagle Rock Boulevard, Brown's. It's like Melrose and Huntington Park kind of thing, whatever, Eagle Rock kind of thing. So anyway, we have these kind of like, I'd pay for a DJ to come out and he'd do his thing, and then people would come and buy clothes. And I have a brand, I love Dirty Break Beats. I'd have, you know, specials on my gear, whatever. So one of your peers, I had him DJ, and he DJs like all the time. Like he's part of a DJ show and podcast or whatever. And he's just like DJing all the time. So I said, man, like, how do you listen to this new stuff? You know, because I'm just old fogey, just bitter. At this time, I'm a lot more liberal now than I was at that point. This is about 4 years ago. But I was just kind of like crunchy, bitter, just like, ah. So I was like, man, how do you do it? And he said, well, first of all, you're listening to the new stuff wrong. And I was like, well, how am I listening to it wrong? He said, well, you're probably listening for a dope beat, dope MC, and dope hook. I was like, yeah, that's a song. And he said, nah, you where we at right now, you may only get one of those. Yeah. So you have to find that one of 3 things in a song that you can connect with. And like, that's just where we are right now. And I was like, oh, so I felt like he gave me the cheat code. And then once he told me that, oh, dude, I was all over Post Malone. I was like it was just like all these kids. And you know, once I started listening to it with the guys of kind of like how people make music now, because they're not making it the way that they made it back in the day. Matter of fact, it was funny. I saw a meme. I saw a meme online, or it was something somebody over the last couple of days. I can't really remember, but somebody said, they said it was something to the extent of, man, I don't want to sound like such and such MC because, man, the girls don't like them, man. They don't want to think as hard as, you know. Oh, it was Talib Kweli. He put some stuff. Talib Kweli put something up, and he was like, somebody was like, man, we don't want to sound like Talib Kweli, man. The girls not gonna want to dance, man. They're gonna be thinking too hard or whatever. We want to,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We want to make some music that's like, you know, lighter. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, what was the name of your first DJ crew?
My first DJ group. My first DJ group was me. Let's think about this. First DJ group. I mean, I would. My first real DJ group would have to probably be with my friend Ross, aka DJ What. You know, back in the day, there was this group called Public Image, and they were twin Filipino cats named Louie and Lito. And those guys, they were so far in advance, like in the way they mixed, like, you know, like the way they mixed, meaning like all their mixes were dope. Like they were clean. Every mix was like on point, like everything. And so that being said, when I was a kid, going back to how you used to steal tapes, and the same thing here.
So a tape, a tape. Well, I wasn't the notorious tape thief from
right. Right. So what I was so basically, when I was in junior high, I went to school with their sister. And she would bring these tapes to school and play these tapes. And I'd be like, what? Where are you getting these tapes? You know, had all Zap and all other stuff like that on it. And I was like, and she goes, oh, my brothers are DJs. And I was like, what? Right. You know, so I would like beg her. I would like, dude, just give me a copy. Let me borrow it. Let me copy it. I'll give it back to you, you know? So I used to bug her so much that, you know, I started a relationship with their brothers. You know, they would charge me $10 a day.
I thought you were about to say I started a relationship with her. She's like, no, I started a relationship with her brothers.
We were always cool. We were just homies and stuff. But so basically they would charge me for tapes and stuff like that. And from those tapes, I would literally basically reverse engineer how they would do every single one of their mixes. Like I would sit there, but I would go out and buy the records, and I would like go how. And there were times where like they would be doing, and this is where I was like, man, these guys are genius, because like I didn't know at the time that back, you know, there was 45s and there was a 12-inch version of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was still in the, you know, thing of, oh, it's just there's an album and there's a 45. I really didn't even know about 12 inches, except, you know, I was just learning about that. So, you know, so I would go out and buy their records, from Zap to Scorpio, Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, all that stuff like that. And I would learn the mixes. And that's when I learned that, oh, they're not using this 45 to do this mix. There's no way, because the 45 version doesn't have 16 bars of instrumental. There's no way they're doing that. So you know, I'm like, how are they doing it? So I'd have to like go out and get the 12-inch of that. And again, this
mixes.
Yeah, this is when I'm a kid, you know, I'm not even driving. So this is back in the day when you have to bug the shit out of your parents for stuff, you know what I mean? So you know, they were getting tired of it. But I mean, that's how I really learned how to mix, was listening to their cassette tapes and basically reverse engineering how they did it. And then once I was able to do that, then I can just apply that to my daily mixing. And so that being said, I mean, I fought for their name. When they decided to quit DJing, I really fought for their name. Like I proved to them, I was like, dude, let me take the name. Let me take the name. So I took the name Public Image. And so like, and then from that, I hooked up with my boy Ross, who is DJ What, who is also a founding member of the Beat Junkies. But we became Public Image, and then we ran the whole thing like in mobile DJing. And then,
so y'all just jacked your Yoda for the name and just told.
Exactly. I was like, that name was so big at the time. Like their name was huge. Like, I mean, like, again, like how we have scratch battles and things like that nowadays, back in those days, they had like crowd battles. It would be opposing DJs from different cities. Like they had a battle against this crew in San Diego called Class A, right? But it was like Class A, you know, so it was like Class A versus Public Image. So it literally be two dudes, two DJ groups on different sides of the venue, and they would see who would rock it the most. I mean, you know, and that's how it was back in the day, you know, like, so like Public Image would battle. There was a group in Carson. I can't think of the name of them right now, but I can't think of the name, but like, that's how it was back in the day. Mobile DJ groups would go around and like kind of battle.
What was the ethnicity of these guys?
Most of the DJs back in the day were Filipinos.
And, like, and I'm gonna tell you something very interesting and where I'm going with this. So, you know, I didn't like, even though I'm from the South Bay, like we discussed earlier, some of the B-roll conversation, and you know, there's a very large concentration of Filipino culture in Carson. It was interesting because it was like back then, like I didn't understand how large the Filipino culture was. Now I'm gonna tell you when I understood how large as an adult, how large the Filipino, like how the Filipino people came out. Like, so I want to say we flew out to, with the Pharcyde, we flew out to, it was a music conference in New York. I forget the name of it, but I know we did a showcase at SOBs, but dang, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a showcase. And so Brown ended up sitting next to some kind of way Rosalind Carubius. And so, you know, he introduced Rosalind to me as the manager, and then Brown and Rosalind were tied on some business stuff or whatever. So Rosalind would throw us bones here and there, whatever. So Rosalind had us come out and DJ and perform in San Francisco. And it was a part of San Francisco that like I'd never seen the Pharcyde, because I was with the Pharcyde like after 96, 97, 98, and then like very hard from like I was just kind of coming around like 97, 98, but like it was really I was kind of really involved like after 98. So we do this show for Halloween, as a matter of fact, Halloween in San Francisco. So for me, I always kind of felt like San Francisco, even though, like I'd seen a lot of people try to throw shows on Halloween, and they never were really successful. Like regardless of how large a venue or how popping someone thought they were going to get it, like Halloween would never like really pan out. Like we get paid, but it just wouldn't really be like, oh, Rosalind has us come out and do this situation in San Francisco. And because she was a gatekeeper back then, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that the corporations and the people and maybe just her network of people, you know what I'm saying? They felt comfortable with her finding the talent. And we do this show, and like it was probably about a couple thousand, I'll say it was probably about 2,000 people. I'll say it might have been 20 Black people there. It was just like all Filipino people in the Bay. and I remember thinking, I was like, man, you really, because so by Brown and the other guys in the group traveling before I started, because I was a homeboy before I started working with them, they would always come back from their travels and I would say something like, oh, how's this song doing or that? And they say like, nah, that's a regional song. It's just big in LA. You know what I'm saying? They tell me like, cause you know, when you don't know the difference between regional and all this kind of stuff, you're just thinking, whatever's cracking or whatever you can see within your community or your whatever, like that's how the world is. Like everything is like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for all these Filipino people to come out and party for Halloween. And it taught me something else, because the Pharcyde could go to the Bay and they basically had like 3 different demographics of people, and that's why they could like do shows in the Bay like maybe 3-4 times a year. You know what I'm saying? Because you had like this very strong influx of Asian with a little bit of everything else, but it was primarily Asian. Then you had like kind of like a white and a Black. I want to say split, but it would always be like maybe 70% Caucasian people, maybe 30% Black. And then you have this just straight all up white, you know, demographic that would come out. And it just totally blew my mind. But it's interesting because the Filipino culture, like you don't like now with social media and everything, with shout out to OG Alex. He partnered up with E40. He's doing his Lumpia thing. You know what I'm saying? Taking it to the max.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, you didn't understand that there was like a culture in Los Angeles that people really didn't know about like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like a big culture, you know what I'm saying? That you didn't know. And to see that this culture embraced hip hop, like a first culture, you know what I'm saying? Not, okay, we do this other thing here in hip hop. Like, dude, I knew Filipino breakdancers as well as DJs, as well as graph writers, that like it was religion to them. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like you can't look at these cats and be like, oh, are they really in there? Like, dude, they're doing it over there. You know, they're probably.
The Filipino community's always been huge into hip hop. I mean, no matter where. I mean, like whether it be here, San Francisco, San Diego, San Jose. I mean, everywhere there's Filipinos, they're all in it. You know, a lot of Filipinos love hip hop, and they've always been down with hip hop since day one. You know, but like out here back in the day, Well, even to this day, I would assume, like, I mean, like we grew up, I mean, I grew up with a lot of mixed people. I had Mexicans around me, black people, white people, you know, green people, blue people, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I had all kind of people around me. So that being said, you know, there was always, okay, so like when I was coming up, the top DJs back in the day when I first came up, they were black dudes, Scratchmatic and Juan Gibson. Okay, and then eventually, as they moved out of the scene and started to do other things, then certain other people came out, like myself. But even when I was growing up, there's always been a mix of people. Like, there's always been dope white DJs. Like, I mean, like to this day, like, I mean, back in the day, even like when I was coming up, you know, I mean, I grew up in a city where I like to say I put Cerritos on the map. After me is like Mellow. After them is like Redmatic. You know, we all grew up in the same city, but I'm older than those guys. Those guys used to come to my parties and stuff. So that being said, and they're my brothers, we're all beat junkies. So, you know, but back in the day, there was always dope white kids. Two white kids I can think of right off the hand was this guy named Wes Cleaver. Wes Cleaver, he didn't even have a DJ name, it was just Wes Cleaver. And this dude was so nice on the turntables. I'm talking, he was so nice. I mean, like nice, like, I mean, just real nice. And then
I get it.
A little bit after that was this guy named DJ Carl White Knight. And White Knight was really nice too. He went to school with Mello at junior high school and stuff like that. But there's always been dope, like where I live, dope people of color, dope white people, dope whatever. So that's just where I live. I can't speak for anybody else, but yeah, I mean, it's like if you were around the turntables and, you know, it was the thing to do back in the day. And so basically people would gravitate whoever had the equipment, because not everybody had equipment, you know. So when I had equipment, people would come to my house, but I didn't have 1200. So I was trying to go to somebody else's house who had 1200, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have 1200s. Like 1200s were like $400 back in the day. I was like, shit,
500.
Yeah. Well, back. Yeah. So, but like, so, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like everybody kind of went around in circles to whoever had the equipment. You know, like maybe your toggle switches on your Numark were broke, so we have to go over to this guy's house because his Numark switches are good. You know
Transforming.
I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, it was always like that. And again, mind you, this is days we're on bikes. You know, we're on bikes pedaling over to people's houses and stuff. You know, so it's a trip how far DJing has come. How far you know DJing has come. It's ridiculous. It's a trip.
So with all that being said, you know, my thing is when I interview people, I like for someone who may watch this, if they're not watching it right now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 2 months from now, to see like, okay, we're going to get to the juicy part, but we got to build it up. We have to put a foundation down before we start laying the bricks for the whole situation. So with all that being said, how did you become a beat junkie? Which I'll say I know beat junkies casually. Like I know who Redmatic is. We've talked. I've tried to work it out where we work together like a few times, but my way is kind of last minute. And some people just aren't like that. Like, you know, some people can hop into the double dutch, some people, or whatever. So it never really worked out where we were able to work together. J-Rock, cool with J-Rock. Matter of fact, I met J-Rock. We both knew a mutual girl way back in the day. And we met like at one of her little like get together cookouts or whatever. And then I ended up, I've seen J-Rock out the country a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, you know, dang, the last time that I saw, what was that DJ? He was Egyptian. He ended up, he's in London now. Dang, he's Egyptian, and they kind of like immigration came and kind of did him like crazy. Damn, you know who I'm talking about?
Probably do, but see this, I told you I'm the worst with names.
Okay, yeah, I forget it, but he's
yeah.
Dang, what's homeboy's name? I forget. Anyway, though, but yeah, I saw him at a club. You know what? I'll tell you somebody who is a dope DJ that it was very hard for me to look at them as a DJ because I didn't know them as a DJ. Mona Lisa. Oh my God, dude.
I just spun with her. Well, I take that back. I didn't spin. She spun with my friend Ross. But yeah, she played an awesome set just yesterday. We were at this event in Long Beach and she played a super duper dope set.
Oh, dude, she's because I knew her, which I'm going to interview her too, but I knew her back from Loud. Like, so she was like working at Loud before they had Mobb Deep, before they had Wu-Tang. Like, man, she got a story. Oh man, dude, she was at Loud before Wu-Tang. Like, she could probably tell you when Wu-Tang when the RZA first flew out to LA to you know what I'm saying, to work out the deal with Steve Ripken and all that kind of stuff. So, Cutma. Cutma is his name. DJ Cutma. Yeah, Cutma. Dang. Okay. Shout out to my partner in crime, OG Brown. He knew. He knew. I'm trying to think of his name. I'm like, he was a DJ. Everybody loved him. Yeah, I was with J Rock and Cutma hanging out like right before Cutma got deported. It was like real whack. Yeah. But with all that being said, you becoming a beat junkie.
The way that started, the way the beat junkie started was with me and Jay. So that being said, Jay back in the day was a mobile DJ himself. Not mobile, but I mean, he used to DJ out in Orange County, and so I used to do everything out from this way, from like Cerritos out there down this way. So we kind of ran in two different areas. We kind of ran into the same zones, but we never really met each other. Mm-hmm. Right. So that being said, our mutual friend was Joey from Mixwell.
Okay.
And so the way I met J Rock, though, the way this all started was so back in the day, I worked at a place called Funky Town Records. All right. Funky Town Records first had a store up in LA. All right. But then they opened up a store in Torrance. All right. And so when they opened up the store in Torrance, they had a grand opening. Right. Come on down, check out the store. Whoop-de-whoop. We're going to have open turntables and all that stuff like that. So 50 DJs, a whole bunch of people show up. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's on the turntables. I'm doing my thing because I work there. So I got to make sure everybody's copacetic and stuff. And, DJ after DJ goes up and, some are good, some are bad, some are whatever. And out of nowhere, I just hear this dude mixing. He's mixing backwards. He's like playing one song forward and mixing backwards with another record. And so like it piqued my interest. I was like, who's on the turntables right now? You know what I mean? So like it was J Rock. And so, from that point, so me and Jay, like we've heard of each other. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're Curse. Oh, you're J Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So that's how that basically came about. So from that point, we literally exchanged numbers. And we started hanging out. Like, I mean, I would go to his house all the time. He lived out here in Westminster. He would come to my house. And that was going on for about about a year or so before like other people started entering the picture. Like from, I think, Red to like Mellow, and all these other people started coming in after the fact. But that being said, I'm like the founding member of the Beat Junkies, but I'm not going to sit here and scream it. And I'm not going to tell you about it. Like, I'll let other people take the
this is what I'll say. I feel a certain level of elation when I hear J Rock cutting the Beat Junkies in the MC Squared. I think that the relationship that he was able to forge with Dilla, that was really dope, and that really. Like even people that didn't know who the Beat Junkies were, you know what I'm saying? And people who might not know who they are right now, once you're hearing that cut, you're like, oh, okay.
J Rock is the man. He's the man, dude. Like,
dope.
I love J Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't speak to him as often as we used to, but like if I need to talk to Jay, we'll get in touch with each other. But no, Jay's always been the man, and that's amongst our crew too. That's amongst the people in our crew. I mean, that's why we elected him as the president. You know what I mean? So that being said, like Jay is the man, I mean, when it comes to doing stuff like that, I think all of us will look up to Jay and on stuff like that, so, but no, Jay, like, that's what I'm saying. Like I come from a crew of hip hop heads and stuff like that. So that's why I'm free to just kind of play whatever I want. I can always dip myself into hip hop. I can always play your songs. I can always do all those tricks and stuff like that. But I choose to just play different music, and I just choose to be more open. But J-Rock, J-Rock is J-Rock. I mean, we've all known that since, when we were kids, 25 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Like that, like me and Mello, it would be a lot of times where it was just me, Mello, and Jay, to be honest. It would just be me, Mello, and Jay. And we would be practicing in a room, and like, Jay would, Jay is Jay, Mello is Mello, I'm me. And me and Mello would just be standing there half the time going, damn, Jay. Damn, Jay. Like, like Jay would do things like, I mean, one of the things that Jay is super duper good at that I've never really seen anybody else do, and I'll say this story all the time, is Jay, you can give J-Rock 2 copies of a record, brand new, right? And he can open those records right in front of you. He can put them down on the turntables, and without them being marked, he will just kill it. Like he will just, there might be a little rough parts here and there, but when it comes to like, like other people would have to mark their records.
Nah, he's at one with the
yeah.
the same way your wife might get jealous the way you pet your turntables and touching on your mixer, you know what I'm saying, hanging on your mixer.
Yeah.
Hey man, when Jay gets those records, it's just,
Yeah, no, Jay's nice. I love Jay. Jay's dope.
So tell me this. Oh man, I told you I live in the hood, man. They they going.
Nah, I think you blew one of your transistors out. That's what it is.
I'm like, man, it's way past the 4th, dude. How do these dudes still have them? And they've been setting them off every night.
Yeah.
I'm like, it don't stop. But with you doing your thing, becoming a beat junkie, all that. Okay, so my dues as a DJ, I didn't really carry nobody's records though. You know what? I didn't carry records. My dues, I just had to open up early, man. I mean, when like nobody was there, dude. And when I say nobody, I mean like 8 to 9:30. I might get to play a couple of cuts, 1 or 2 later in the evening, but it was like 8 to 9:30. People start getting there at like 10:30, whatever. So it was just kind of like for whoever was throwing the venue, I was kind of like there, like warm up music or whatever. As far as you, like, how did you pay your dues to DJing?
Well, that was back. I mean, again, I used to pay dues to people for mobile DJing, you know what I mean? So I was one of those fools that had to like carry records and carry equipment and do all that, set up the equipment. I did it for
Irwin Vegas. Ooh.
Oh yeah, the Vegas, the sub, the B36s, the subs, the tops. Because again, back in the day, I keep saying that, but I mean, you had real speakers. Speakers today, they're powered speakers. You got poles. Everything's light. Everything's plastic. Back in these days, these things are made out of 1-inch plywood. Each speaker will break your back. But no, so I mean, that's what we did. I mean, everybody that wanted to be a DJ back in the day, that knew a DJ or something like that was older, maybe a brother, an uncle, a friend of a brother or something like that. That's how I did it too. I used to have to carry crates, I mean, I did everything, carry crates, set up speakers, tear down, freaking do lightings, the truss lighting, the helicopter lights back in the day. I mean, everything. Like, so, I mean, and then eventually that's how that's how I would start doing gigs, is because once you start building up trust with these guys and you start getting older and they start kind of moving away from it, that's when you're like, hey man, I need to borrow the equipment this week to do a gig. You know what I mean? So they know you, they're like, okay, you could take the equipment. And a lot of the times, everybody that I worked with, they used to love when I used to borrow the equipment, because I used to look at their equipment. I go, man, your shit's all dirty. And so I would literally clean all their equipment. It didn't matter what it was, amps, turntables, mixer, it didn't matter. I would clean it because I can't stand dirty equipment. And so that being said, I'd return their equipment and they'd be like, dude, this shit looks new. I go, that's right, because that's called cleaning your shit, so that being stuff like, so that's basically how I do it. I would help these people. And then when I started getting older and I was able to do my own gigs, that's when I was like, hey man, I need to borrow the speakers. Is that cool? Yeah. I'd have to go to 3 or 4 different people just to complete a party. Hey man, can I borrow the lights? Hey man, can I borrow the turntable? Hey man, can I borrow the mixer? Hey man, can I borrow the speakers? So that's how it all started. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, for mobile DJing and stuff. So I paid many a dues, you know what I'm saying? Definitely.
One of the things that we would do is we would wait for these guys who were kind of spoiled, and their parents would get them a Nissan truck. They get them some Sherwin Vega speakers, some 1200s, some records. And so they would think, okay, because I have the Nissan truck, because I have the Sherwin Vega speakers, because I have the records and the mixers, I'm going to be making $500 every weekend, 2 days a weekend, doing weddings and parties and quinceañeras and, you know, just all this stuff. But the dudes were whack.
Yeah.
And so they keep the truck, the mixers, the turntables, the records, all that stuff will get sold. I got my first set of 12s, mixer, and 3 crates of records for like $500 from a dude who his brother was a dope DJ, but his brother went away to college, and his brother was like, well, okay, I'm leaving you, my younger brother, I'm leaving you these turntables, mixer, and speakers to, you know, you can go out and do parties, you know, you can make you some money. And the brother just had no desire to DJ, man. He had no desire. He said, yo, man, you got $500, you come over here, you pick up all this stuff up. You know what I'm saying? So I went over there and came up.
Well, you know what's crazy is I did have a Nissan. I did have the Sherwin Vegas. I still do have my turntables, but I was a dope DJ. But you know what's even funnier than that is, you know, Sam Ash Music opened up here in Cerritos, you know, just to push it forward. I used to work at Sam Ash Music. And one of the things that used to break my heart personally, like used to cut me to the core, like put a dagger in my heart, was when people used to come in and they used to tell me stories about, oh man, I used to be a DJ. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what happened? You know, you look at them like, okay, you used to be a DJ. Okay, well, what's your story? And the story was always like, oh man, you know, I had to get married. And my wife wanted me to sell all my equipment, and I had to get rid of all my records and this and that. And I mean, every time, and I'm talking a lot of times, people would come in and tell us these horror stories, you know, like, you know, because a lot of DJs, we ran the DJ department. So you would hear these stories, and as a DJ, it would just cut you, because you're like, I would just like say back then, I'm like, I am never selling my equipment. I am never getting rid of my records until I'm ready. Like, and if anybody tries to tell me so, they're not the person for me. Like, that's not happening. Like, I'm not getting rid of this stuff. Was here before you, is going to be here during you, and it's going to be here after you. So if you got any issue with that, you can go that way, because that's just been my whole thing. Like, this is my baby. This has been with me for a long time, and that's how I feel about it. Like, whether I step away from it for like 8 years like I did, come back, this stuff is always going to be here with me. Like, you know what I mean? So that's just how I feel about it. And that's what that used to hurt, because people used to come in and talk about how they used to had to sell their equipment because they had a kid. Oh, I had to sell my equipment because I had to get married. I had to sell my equipment because my lady wanted me to stop DJing. I'm just like, that's not happening. So I mean, yeah. So that's that.
I'm gonna give a shout out to the Mixwell cats, the Ink Works, and the guys at the workshop. You know what I'm saying? That's how I met you, just coming in on the humbug.
Dude, Inkworks was the shit back in the day when we were doing radio shows. When the Beat Junkies first did radio shows, I used to have to go out and solicit people for money, because the show cost us $200 to do. So that being said, it was at a radio station, 96.7 FM. So I would have to go out and solicit people for $50. And what we would do is we would do commercials for them. And I used to do commercials for Inkworks, okay, back in the day. If it ain't printed, it ain't works. It ain't gonna work, all right? So like, I'd have to come up with all these phrases. They were one of the people that sponsored us back in the day. We had Ryan Rush from Draws, which is predating Mixwell. Okay, that's where I think Joey and those guys learned their craft from, was probably from him. But I mean, there was other different second floor clothing. There was all these things I had to go out. So Joey and Sean and Antonio Mixwell and Doug is part of them from back in the day. You know, I mean, I've known those guys since high school. So, and those guys used to DJ. I think I even battled Joey back in the day. I think I even battled Joey and Sean back in the day before they were Mixwell. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we know each other for a long time, man. Like, a lot of us have a lot of history together. So,
no, you know what? I could totally tell, because Joey's usually really reserved. He's just like looking at his computer. He's working on his work or whatever. And then I saw him talking. He was like, oh man, it's the homie. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, dang, I never seen Joey. Like, Joey got loose on him. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, Curse is a good dude. You know what I'm saying? And then Joey's like, no, man, you gotta know Curse. And then I was like, oh, the beat. And I immediately my mind thought the beat. So moving forward, we talked about the beat junkies. We talked about your, you coming to whatever. So when you started DJing for the beat, what was your pathway to DJing for the beat? And then how were politics imposed back then? Because when you DJed for the beat, it was well before radio stations would have like one hard drive of music, because they got smart. They just stopped letting people play whatever they thought they was going to play or whatever. Because I know someone who had DJed for Power maybe about 10 years ago, but I know that Power would have one hard drive in there. And like if you had to DJ, that's what you had to do. And then you might be able to do like in some kind of a little mix or something. They gave the guys a little bit of levity to do a little something. But for the most part, you had to play what was on that hard drive. So you DJ'd on the beat far before the technology got to that level. So what was your pathway of DJing for the beat? And then what were the politics as far as you playing music?
So my pathway to the beat was Mello was on already. He was already on the beat. He was with Julio. And okay. I think basically Mello had to do something, be somewhere, do a club. And they needed somebody to cover for Mello's mix.
Okay.
So that's how I basically got pulled into the station. Mello brought me into the station. Ice, it was, I think, Mello first, and then Ice, and then myself, and then J-Rock, and all these other people. But the first time I was at the station to mix was, I think, it was because Mello needed somebody to cover for him. So I covered for Mello. Julio was the on air, and that's how I got into it. I did an okay job to their, I passed their expectations per se. And so then what happened after that, I started filling in, I think, for Mello on a Friday or something. And then DJ Jam, Dre's DJ at the time, mine probably still is, was at the station at the time too. DJ Jam used to do like these late night mixes, like these overnight.
He's from San Diego.
Yeah. And so same thing. I think he had to go on tour at the time. And so I was like,
too. He DJed.
Yeah. And he was like, hey, Curse, he goes, do you think you can cover my overnights, the late night mixes? And so basically that's how I got my start at the station. I was doing like Friday night mixes, covering for people. And then I started doing DJ Jam show, which was like the late, I don't know, 12 to 2, something like late hours, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then from there, it basically, I just started doing other shows. But to the music, to the music end of it, when I first started the station, it was super cool. Like it was super cool and super simple. You can they allowed you to play what was hot at the club. So like if you go to the club and they're playing a hot song at the club, they would allow you to play it on air, but you had to sandwich it between 2 hits. So like you would have to play, let's say, a Biggie Smalls cut, a freaking SWV cut, that club song that's banging, and then follow that up with like a Tupac song, and then something, so you had to surround it with nothing but hits, but they would let you play stuff that was dope in the club. Then over a period of time, and I was at the station for 10 years. So I started in 97 and I was there till 2007 it ended. So over a period of time, I just remembering the music selection just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like they wouldn't before we would be able to play Eric B. and Rakim President or something like that, or Paid in Full, they would look down upon it, like, oh, well, nobody plays that anymore. And we're like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. And so it was all these like little outside things that would start closing in the music. And then when I did leave the station, I literally was playing from a list of music. I literally had a list of maybe 30 songs, 30, 40 songs, maybe a couple of pages of music. And I hate to say it, but literally you'd go in there on a Monday, because I would do 20-minute mixes like in the morning. And since you were so limited to music, like, I would go in there and play 8 songs Monday, on Tuesday, I'd play those 8 songs backwards. You know, like, you know, you would just be so limited to what you can do. And then when I first started the station, they would allow you to promote your gigs. They would allow you to say, oh, DJ Curse is going to be at such and such. They would do drops, right? They would do drops in your mix, like, oh, you're in the mix with DJ Curse and whoop, 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 whoop. But then by the time I ended the station, they were like, no, we're not going to give you any drops. And no, we're not going to let you promote. And we're like, what are you talking about? I actually had a person, an executive from the station tell us that we shouldn't even be getting paid. And like, I mean, when you got that kind of attitude, it was just like we kind of all saw where the station was headed. You know, when they went from 92.3 the beat to 100.3 the beat, they lost a lot of range of the station. Like you couldn't like when they were 92.3 the beat, you can hear them as far north as like San Jose, and you can hear them like all the way down to San Diego. We'd have people listening to us at Oceanside, you know. But then when they switched over to 100.3 the beat, dude, LA. It was bad. Like I could barely get it here sometimes. I'm in Cerritos. I'm not even far from LA. And so it was just a whole bunch of things. So like myself and a few other people, we just decided to ride till the wheels fell off. And then, you know, the wheels fell off around 2007, 2008 or something like that. And, but yeah, so the music, like I said, when you first started, they were cool. They were open to letting you play stuff from the club. You just had to sandwich it with hits. And then over a period of time, they would close down the list. Oh, you can only play these 4 pages of music. You can't play this, can't that. And then it just got getting smaller and smaller till by the time I left the station, it literally was like a list of 30 songs, 40 songs, if that. So yeah, that's how much it changed.
So as far as you guys being able to break music back then, like how did music get broke?
Well, see, again, in the good days of radio, I mean, you know, there'd always be record reps up at the station, you know, they'd always be hitting you up and, you know, hey man, play this, play that, you know, and, you know, you have the majors, you know, the Def Jams and the Virgin.
So without you giving away too many secrets, industry secrets, I knew that some of these radio reps would get paid like $10,000, $15,000 a month to like the label would pay a record rep like $10,000, $15,000 a month to like work a song.
Yeah.
And so working a song entailed.
Well, I mean, on their end, you know, they're going to reach out to the DJ and see what the DJ needs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, listen, for me, you know, I know people that got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, from trips to computers to things of this nature. You know what I mean? Me, I got some headphones, got some video games, you know, but you know what I'm saying? It because what it comes down to is how much you want to do. Meaning like they're going to give you a lot to play this whack ass record.
So but how much do you want to do to get paid for this whack record?
Exactly. How much do you want to put on yourself that you're playing this whack ass record? So that's why I'm saying, like, for me personally, there were songs that I would play for my record rep dudes just because they were cool. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those records were kind of but I would give him a spin just because he was cool with me.
Yeah.
And other than that, like I said, like, you know, it just depends. Like, you know, like I said, I've heard people getting a lot of things, ski trips and this and that, going to Hawaii. I never got any of that just because I just didn't want to be part of that.
You know, something interesting. So we had a DJ that was he was at a popular radio station or whatever once upon a time, and he told me something that was like, man, at the time, but he was, I'll say at the time, it made me think that because I always would like get close with our DJs, I get close with our band members, because I kind of had to have a relationship separate than the artist, because like these are the dudes who we're counting on to go out on the road with. So I got to kind of know the guy's life, like how he's living, like what he likes, what he don't like, not bend over backwards for any musician or DJ, but if they're doing a decent job, you just want to, you want to know who know who you, and then my thing is like, I like to be personable with people because I just feel you can get just far more being personable than any type of fluff or just BS. So this one guy told me, we were talking about something about the whatever, and somehow it came up I was like, man, don't you have people that want to give you money to play, play stuff in the clubs? Or I asked him like, what's the most money anybody just walked up to you in a club and was like, man, here, play my song. And he's like, oh no, we don't do that. I was like, what? I was like, somebody come up to you with a gang of dough, like whatever you like. He's like, nah, man, because the thing is, the moment you accept money to play somebody's stuff, he's like, dude, that's when you got somebody walking up to you, like in the middle of you doing your job, and they're like, yo, I gave you this, you need to play mine right now or whatever. And it may not be the song for the moment, song for the groove, song for the whatever, but then you got this dude here ready to act a fool over this little 100, 200, 300, 500, let's say even if it was 1,000. And he's like, man, Greg, it's not worth it. He's like, it's not worth it, dude. He's like, dude, if you're cool, basically he said the same thing you're saying. Yep. If you're cool, or if I like your music, then I'll rock with it. But I'm not going to take nothing from you that's going to put me in a situation where, like, dude, I'll end up owing you for this song for the rest of, rest of my career.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really what it really was. It came down to. And like I said, I don't, you do what you do, you know what I'm saying? As a DJ, if you want to do that and you get away with it or whatever, more power to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not tripping. Like, I don't begrudge the next person, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I could think of one thing that I did that was pretty crazy. It was like when P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, when they were running the airwaves with all the groups from Biggie to 112 to Total, they flew a whole bunch of us. I'm thinking they probably flew out all the radio DJs from LA to New York. And this is when he opened up his restaurant. I think it was called Justin's or something like that. So this is the grand opening of his restaurant. So, I mean, you had all the New York DJs, all of us out there, and probably a whole bunch of other DJs from around the country. And, they put us up in a beautiful 4-star hotel and all this other stuff like that, took care of us. So that's probably one of the nicest things. We were out there for 4 or 5 days, and so that was really nice, but beyond that, I mean, it was just all like little things and stuff like that. But it's like what your friend said, that like, the minute you take money, you're indebted to these people, and and it's kind of a slippery slope. So I would just do it. Like, I was cool with a lot of record reps I didn't really know, but and that being said, the record reps that I knew kind of what music I would step out on, and kind of knew what music I wouldn't step out on. And I was pretty forward with them, man. That record's garbage, dude. Like, I'd be like, I tell them, so, but again, it comes down to integrity, really. Like, what do you stand on? Like, I mean, if you just want to get money to play whack records, oh, that's cool. Like, that's you, you know what I'm saying? But, I just wanted to have some kind of integrity, I guess, is what it comes down to. So, because now I have none. No,
hey man, I know how one can feel that way, man. Yeah. You go around, you do the right thing forever, man, and you just see these renegades out here that don't care, man, just doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, who would your dream verses be, dead or alive?
Verses, like, from a rapper?
For whatever. Dream verses.
Verses. Oh, yes. Shit. Oh, wow. Dang. I would like to see Biggie in a verses. Biggie.
Okay. Again.
Biggie. Well, here's the thing, like, I'm an old school dude, so I like Biggie. I'd like to see Biggie maybe like BDP. Biggie versus, because like I'd say Rakim, but Rakim's more like a writer's rapper. I mean, he's not one to, like, when he raps, he's just so smooth. He's not gonna be all up in your, like this. So I think Biggie would be dope. I think BDP, Biggie and BDP.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
Biggie and Jay-Z.
Oh yeah. I think Biggie would. I think
Brooklyn's Finest is one of my favorite songs, man. They are going for it, man. Right. Back and forth. I would love to see those two square off and really.
Let me ask you a question though. Saying that though, have you seen the video where they show, like, they take all the clips from Jay-Z's raps where he's taking whole lyrics from Biggie's?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like, listen, I know I was a big fan of Jay-Z back in the day when he was with what's his the bitty 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 when he's doing all the freaking fast rapping.
Jazz.
So I mean, like I've been a big fan of Jay-Z, but I'm also a real big fan of Biggie Smalls. I because to me Biggie Smalls was somebody that he was just so smooth with the party raps, from all his from Hypnotized, everything like that, and he could lay down a mean set if he needed to. But I think when Biggie passed, and then there's this always thing with this Tupac and Biggie thing, but I think when Biggie passed, he was pretty much at the top of his game when he passed, he could have still went up, but I like Biggie. He could have, you're asking dead. I'm thinking dead people and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. It's crazy. I remember, a lot of my musical knowledge that went beyond regional was brought back by the Pharcyde when I was just a homeboy and they were going out doing shows and going to different conventions and stuff like that. And I remember when they came back and they had went somewhere and they had got the Biggie tape, because back then it's just totally different than it is now. Like advance copies of stuff and you get it way before the radio, and then you'd have these people who are in high position giving you something saying, yo, this is going to be the next, whatever. Yeah. So I remember like the guy's excitement for Biggie before I even knew who Biggie Smalls was, cared to know who he was. Like they came back with excitement and they were like, yo. And I remember them listening to the tape over and over and over. And like a lot of that stuff I got late, like Tupac too. You know what I'm saying? Even Tupac being from LA, but like them traveling, that's one of the bonuses of like moving around and seeing what music does in different regions and different cultures. And it helps you get a good feel for the pulse of music and how it moves. Because, I never knew before I traveled outside of California, I never knew that you could have a hit in LA and like they're playing it like 2 times a day, 2 times an hour, 3 times an hour, and go to Texas, go to Phoenix, go to New York, go to Atlanta, go whatever. And it just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like literally doesn't mean anything. So with that being said, I see that you have been heavily involved in Twitch and whatnot. So since the whole COVID lockdown and everything, how did you transition into Twitch, or were you into Twitch before the COVID? Because for me, the first time that I heard about Twitch, our DJ Mike Realm, he was doing some stuff with Fortnite, and I went to a party that they threw, and I was talking to this guy who had won the Olympics, the Fortnite Olympics or something to that level. So I was talking to this guy, and he was a medical student, but he was kind of like he went to UCLA. He was like kind of like he was from Russia. He was really smart, and I asked him like, how much time do you play Fortnite a week? And he said, about 25, 30 hours. And I was like, how are you going to medical school? And then he had told me that he would also tutor at Cedars-Sinai. He would tutor his field of medicine was brain, like dealing with brain injury and stuff like that. So the guy told me he played Fortnite for 30 hours a week. He went to UCLA medical school, and he still like mentored people at Cedars-Sinai for this. And he's like, yeah, and I'll make a little money. And I was like, well, how do you make money? He's like, I'll play Twitch, and people whatever. And he kind of told me how much money he made, and I was just kind of like, this is a whole nother, it's like a subculture. It's a culture. The same way I was saying, like, if you didn't have Filipino friends or whatnot, you have no idea that they're so centralized, like that it's a thing that's totally different than what you may be aware to. And this cat was telling me about the money he was making, and he was like, yeah, Twitch, you can do this, you can do that. And I was like, okay. So then once COVID jumped off, I saw DJs kind of hop into the double dutch. So when you got into Twitch, did you deal with it before COVID, or was something that you adapted to after COVID happened?
I came in. I jumped on Twitch very late. I was actually working through the for the pandemic. So I was on the front lines working through this pandemic. So when I would get home from work, I would be too damn tired. Like I'd be like, because I'd have to take off all my clothes, throw them in the wash, and do all this stuff like that. That being said, I didn't jump onto Twitch till later, and but once I jumped on Twitch, the reason why. Like I never jumped on IG Live, I never jumped on Facebook, I never jumped on any of these because all my friends would ask me to do these events for them, IG Live, this, that. And a lot of the times you would come up with a set and within 3 songs, 4 songs, they're shutting you down over copyright. Instagram, my friend, when he'd make a 2-hour mix to go live and within 3 songs, they're cutting his stream, telling him it's over copyright. So I just kind of hung out and waited. And then during the pandemic, when D Nice went on and did the club quarantine, and it kind of opened everybody's eyes, was like, oh, this is what's going on here. So I think people tried Instagram Live, then they tried Facebook, and then they found this platform called Twitch. And the nice thing about Twitch that I notice about Twitch is that, they'll let you play any song you want, but you have to be there for the show. So like if I'm on from 12 to 2, Twitch relies on a live audience. So if I'm on from 12 to 2, they're going to let me play any song I want from 12 to 2. They're not going to stop me. But now if you want to come on and say, oh man, I missed Curse's mix, I'm going to try to catch him at 3 o'clock. So when you go back to watch my video of me, there's going to be certain spots that are blanked out because of copyright. Okay. And to me, that's the perfect system, which is they base it on a live audience. So it's like if you're at a concert.
They make you watch it. They make you watch it.
Right. So they make the audience. If you're a fan of me, if you're a fan of somebody else, then we expect you to watch live. And that being said, you can play what you want, playing anything I want. But if now you want to watch me an hour after my set, well, now there's going to be blank spots in the video because of copyright. So I think, and I think anybody who's a DJ who does this, to me, that's a super duper perfect system. Like,
oh no, it's smart.
Well,
because you get rewarded.
Yeah, well, record companies, they always they always have this slanted version of things, like thinking just because a DJ's playing a song, somehow, some way, I'm making $1 million playing your dumb song. And as a DJ, I'm on the other end going, dude, I'm playing your song, probably exposing your dumb song to a whole bunch of group of people that don't even know your song. So stop thinking that I'm making tons of money off your dumb song. I'm playing your song because of a few reasons. I like your song, I like the beat, and I'm thinking my audience are gonna like this song. I'm not making no money off playing your song. I'm doing you a favor by promoting your song. So that's my view of it as a DJ, and that's my view of it as the record industry. The record industry needs to chill. This is a perfect system where if you're live, you get to hear it. If you're not live, well, unfortunately, you don't get to hear that song. And to me, that's the perfect 50-50. So
question. Okay, so if someone doesn't catch your mix live, do you work with other platforms where people can go and listen to your mixes live without it being cut, or that kind of defeats the purpose? You're just
I mean, Twitch is where you want people to be. Twitch is the platform of the future. So like, when I do a show, I'm not as big as other people on the platform. Like I said, I started late. I'm barely got, 2,000 followers. There's people that got 15, 16, 17,000 followers, and that's great. For me, like, I tell people all the time that you're going to get out of Twitch what you put into Twitch, right? Like if you're going to try to be a plumber, right? Well, you got to do some work, right? You're going to have to promote it by either giving out your cards and walking door to door or taking out ads. It's the same thing with Twitch. Like I tell people all the time, when you're in this room, like you have to integrate, you have to interact with the chat. Those people are like your audience, you know what I'm saying? So like if you've got people in your chat and you're not interacting with them, what are they there for? I mean, they're there to listen to your music, but that's where you're going to get the rapport of people. That's where you're going to get people to come back. That's where you're going to get people to sub. That's where you're going to get people to throw bits, is because you're building a relationship with these people through the Twitch. You know what I'm saying? So, if you want these people to come, it's like if you saw your friend coming through the door at the club, you're not going to not say what's up to him. right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, and for people who don't Twitch, it's getting to the point, it's kind of weird. Like I'm almost kind of tired of explaining Twitch to people because I tell people all the time about it. No. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I tell people all the time, but then what happens is like people are set in their own ways. So like older folks, they're like, I don't want to download an app to listen to DJ Curse, or I don't want to have to do this whoop-de-whoop to do this to listen to you, you know? So you have to build, like I tell people that you'll be surprised, man. When you start Twitch, it's not going to be your friends that support you. It's not going to be your friends that support you. It's going to be people that you see in the community, because Twitch is a worldwide thing. Mm-hmm. And so I, as an old school DJ, have to keep reminding myself that I can play whatever I want on this channel. I don't want to just like the people, my old friends that know me, right? They expect me to play the same way. Oh, Curse, play the Gangstar. Oh, Curse, play this shit, play that. And that's cool, bro. But like, I play that all the time.
You got a whole new audience that you can just really, yeah.
Exactly. So what happens is you have to keep telling yourself that there's a world out there. These aren't your friends that you normally DJ for on the street here and this and that. Can't believe that. And so, so that being said, like, you know, Twitch, and you know, I guess what I'm saying is, as a DJ, you know, you can play hip hop, you can play house and all that stuff like that. And that's what Twitch affords. You know, you can build your audience. So that's what it is. You get out of Twitch what you put into it. If you put an hour or two into Twitch, expect that in return. If you put 4 hours, like if you put 4 hours a day into Twitch, or 3 hours or 2 hours a day into Twitch, which is like 10 hours a week, you know, you slowly but surely will start building up an audience, you know. And again, it's not going to be the people you think are going to listen to you. It's somebody who's just perusing Twitch and goes,
organic supporter, man. Yeah. Organic, not your homeboy that wouldn't pay to get into the club if you was doing it at a club anyway, but that other person that'd be like, dude, I'd love to pay to get, you know.
Yeah, and I literally started from zero. I mean, like, you know, name whatever, DJ Kabija, whatever. I literally started from zero, like zero. Like I came into this just zero. And so to have built up my audience to where it is now, again, I'm just a small audience person. You know, you can make decent money on Twitch, and the more you build your audience, the more subs you get and things of this nature. I mean, there's video gamers that make millions of dollars playing video games. So what I tell people all the time is, you are not going to tell me that I can't get on Twitch as a DJ and slowly build up my audience to be making that kind of money. Okay. And that's, you know, and that goes for, you know, people who do talk shows on there. That's for people who make beats. There's all kind of things on Twitch. I tell people all the time, I go, it's not just limited to video games and DJing. There's so many things on Twitch. And so, but what it is when you get on Twitch, it's kind of overwhelming for people who are not familiar with it, because, you know, they look at the chat, there's bits, there's all these things going on screen. And, you know, it's just kind of overwhelming to folks who maybe aren't so computer savvy, or just are like little overwhelmed, you know. So, but Twitch is the platform, like for me and for anybody who's jumped on it. You know, it afforded DJs and people to make a living during the pandemic, right? Like during the pandemic, if DJs couldn't make a living, so they would jump on Twitch, and through Twitch, they would build up an audience. And so like, let's say, you know, you enjoy my DJ. Oh man, Curse is killing it right now, right? So you sub to my channel for $5 a month, right? So what that gives you is you don't have to wait through commercials. You know, every time you want to reach DJ Curse, you get to see DJ Curse.
Hold on 1 second. And then we're going to get to the last question of the interview.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me you got 2,000 subscribers, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't have 2,000 subscribers. I have about 2,000 followers. But
okay.
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, but to do math, let's do a little math, okay? The way I understand is, if you have 1,000, let's just do it at 1,000 subscribers. If you had 1,000 subscribers at $5, right? Mm-hmm. And you're, well, there's levels to Twitch. You know what I'm saying? There's levels. There's starting, affiliate, and then partner. And everybody's trying to reach partner, because when you reach partner, you get 50% of everything that's generated on your channel. So that means your subscriptions are all yours. You get all the bits, and then you start earning money from the commercials they run on your channel.
Okay, so when you say subscriptions are yours, that's all yours, or you split it 50-50?
I think, I'm not a partner, I'm an affiliate. So I think you get 50.
Okay.
So just to give you, but to give you an example though, if you had 1,000 subscriptions at $5, that's 5,000. That's $5,000. 2,500 of that gets deposited into your account every month, and then
Okay.
that's just the subs. That's not counting the bits that people throw. That's not counting the people that people might want to Cash App you, Venmo you, they PayPal you. I mean, there's all kind of ways to get paid on Twitch, but it just, again, it's how much you put into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people aren't just going to give you money. You've got to go out there and earn it, do something that people enjoy. So like I always tell people, I could play this kind of music, but in real life, this certain kind of music, although people will say, oh, that's the dopest song, and oh, Curse, you're this, they're not throwing subs. They're not freaking throwing bits. So as much as I'm hearing, oh, you're dope, this is the dopest song, oh, this cut, this, that, you're basically DJing for free because ain't nobody doing nothing. So that's what I was saying. You've got to find this fine balance, like, and you have to remind yourself that Twitch is an open world. You can still do hip hop and all, you can do all of that, but I would just, for me, I'm trying to build more up of a wide audience and then start going down. Okay, now that I've got my audience here, let me introduce you to this hip hop.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to this. But as of right now, as I'm trying to build up and attain a certain level in Twitch, I'm just
you gotta be spread across. Okay, I get it.
That's just how I'm doing it. Now, again, there's other people do it any way they want to, but that's just the way that's just my path I'm taking. I'm just trying to get as much audience as I can. They know me. People who know me from what I do, but these newer people, they don't know, so. And, you got people from Germany, you got people from Switzerland, you got people from Japan listening to you, you got people from New Mexico. I mean, everywhere on the planet, there's people listening to you. And that's what's crazy, because when I come on in the morning, it's evening in Switzerland, or, and so like, there's people going, oh, this is perfect. I'm ready to go to sleep, or I'm at dinner right now, or you just have so many different people listening to you. And that's what you just have to remember, and it's fun for a DJ, I mean, it's fun. Like, I don't, like, when you see me on Twitch, I would never do that out at a real club. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, on Twitch, I'm on the mic, I'm talking, well, I'm, all this, but I would never do that at a club. I'm more reserved at a club. You got to be professional at a club. I'm not on the mic at the club. I'm not usually like that, but on Twitch, I'm just having fun. I'm just straight having fun, clowning people. And my personality comes out more on Twitch than, let's say, like if I was at a club or something like that. Nobody wants to be yelling on the mic, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? No, nobody wants that at the club. Nobody wants that at the club.
With all that being said, down to the last question.
Yeah.
You saying that you did a little bit of work on the front line on them.
Yeah.
Where do you see social interaction going in the next 2 years?
Man. I just say this, man, like, there's a big deficiency on how to interact with people. These kids nowadays, I work with a lot of young kids sometimes, and these young kids are brilliant when it comes to like computers and phones and knowing how to handle technical stuff. But I mean, just basic hello, goodbye,
communication skills. They don't know.
Looking in the eye and just saying, hey, how you doing? I mean, they are so deficient in it. Like, a lot of these kids that I deal with, they don't even know how to deal with like just any kind of adversity throws them. Like, just like, I mean, like I said, they're so brilliant in the world of technology.
But we'll throw a tantrum at the drop of a dime. Like,
yes. But at the same time, it's like, like I know a little girl that, she's part of our family and stuff. And like, I told her to go ask a question. I go, why don't you go ask that lady where such and such is at in the store? And she was just like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, just go over there and just ask the lady. I don't know how. And then when we kind of just forced, just go ask. It's no problem. She asked in such a forceful way. Like, she didn't know how to ask. Like, what I mean? It was just like, where's this at? Like, what I mean? It was like, where's this at? Like,
social media and text messaging, man, it's taken out and that's so funny. We had last week we had a special session of Splendid, and that was one of the topics where like kids communicate through DMs. They communicate through text messages. They don't know how to pick up a phone, how to talk, how to actually communicate. Like that's void of their social skills.
Yep. I mean, so you asked me in 2 years. I mean, like right now it's pretty bad because, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't see why it's so bad to say what's up to people. How you doing? If you're passing somebody on the street, hey, what's up? Or look at somebody. But a lot of people nowadays, there's just no communication, looking down, or they're just rude. You come into a store, they don't even say hello. It's more like, give me your money and get out. It's like, I really, I don't know. What I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's so many people looking down at their phones today that, like I said, they don't even know how to socially interact. And so, but I mean, like with everything, I'll be on the positive side. Hopefully things will change, and, hopefully there's some balance in the universe and stuff like that. But, depending, I mean, if we get past this COVID and, who knows what's the next one they're going to do? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, in 2 years, I would hope that nobody's wearing masks. I would hope that nobody's wearing masks. I hope we're past this. I hope life's back to normal. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, I would just say that I hope that there's a generation of kids that learn how to interact, just say hello, goodbye, learn how to ask questions. I guess it's, but with technology and stuff, everything, who knows? We might have chips in our brain. Who knows? No, we might be able to do telepathic conversation. Who knows?
Wouldn't doubt it. So man, with that being said, dude, I want to thank you for being a part of this, man. It was cool for me because I really got to ask some questions, and I know you kept it monitored, and what I'm saying, it's like a prison story. You really didn't give the names, you didn't give us too much, but you gave us enough to kind of chew on something. So with that being said, give us your social media information as well as your Twitch information.
My Instagram, on Instagram, if you want to follow me or check me out on Instagram, it's I am DJ Curse. On Instagram, I am DJ Curse, CURSE, like the curse word. Mm-hmm. And then on Twitch also the same thing, I am DJ Curse. So that's probably the easiest way to find me, is on Instagram or Twitch. And Twitch right now, my schedule's all over the place just because I'm going for partner. So that being said, it's just a herky jerk schedule, but you can go to twitch.tv /I am DJ Curse. So that's, yeah.
Well, no, man, it's been my pleasure, dude. I really appreciate you letting me crawl into your world for a little bit, man, and hit it. And shoot, I'll probably touch back with you in about 365 days or so.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for having me on here. And like I said, man, it's just, I love all rappers and stuff, new and old and stuff like that. But like as a DJ right now, I just play a lot of everything and stuff. I would tell DJs that are coming up to explore as much music as you can. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one kind of music. There are people that do that and are very successful at it, right? They just play hip hop, they just play this, and that's super cool. But as a DJ, just you'll find out as you play records and what you do, and you'll see that a lot of things that, like, you might, there's certain things you can't do at clubs. You know what I'm saying? You go to a club, nobody want to hear this scratching all this shit and stuff like that. So as a DJ, you'll find that out as you do clubs. You'll as you do more gigs, you'll find out. But I would just say, don't pigeonhole yourself into one kind of music. And
So last one. So if someone goes to watch DJ Curse on Twitch, they're not gonna see you battle mixing for 2 hours.
Well, no. Here's the funny part. Okay, so every time I do somebody else's stream, like I just did this stream on a Sunday with Icy Ice and some other cats, right? And that literally was just me just cutting it up, right? Like every song I'm cutting it up, like we had 4 turntables, so they're DJing, I'm scratching and all stuff like that. And then today when I get on my channel, I'm just mixing. I'm just mixing like I'm on 92.3 the beat. I'm like doing R&B and and I look into the camera and I'm like going, people in my, I'm like, you guys are going, wait a second, we saw you cutting it up all day Sunday, Curse. Where's that guy? Where's that guy? Where's Curse, the guy that's cutting it up? And I'm like, I'm just playing music today. So I would say that on other people's channels, I always tend to cut it up. But when it comes to me on my channels, I'm just like chilling. So every now and then I'll cut it up. But I mean, again, like, you know, I mean, I'm on a lot, so you know what I mean. So it's like I just want to
Yeah.
play as much music as I can. There'll be times where I cut it up and stuff like that, but
Save the energy, man. You just
yeah.
can't go. Well, no, man. With all that being said, dude, I really appreciate you for tapping in. And I definitely have some questions that you piqued in my interest that I'm gonna hit you up probably in the next couple of days about the whole Twitch thing. But no, man, this has been Splendid Radio on Farside TV. Peace.